I intended to doze through her interview and rejoin the show. But instead I slept there until 2 p.m., 3 hours after the show was over and everyone had left. I walked out the door, got myself home, ordered some pizza, snorted whatever I had left in my pocket, and went to bed. That was just another day at the office. The only reason I didn't lose my job was that Howard is so brilliant at making anything funny, even a fat addict sleeping, that I became a source of humor and a regular joke. My naps were a recurring theme because he turned it into a bit the way only he can, even though it was a huge burden for him to bear each day. The top that was my life started really spinning out of control this time. I was so physically addicted, and it had happened so quickly, and I really didn't care. It was horrifying to me. I'd hired guys to get me clean, and I'd made such a show of it on the air on Stern, and even in my own stand-up DVD, that I was ashamed of what had happened. There was no way I was going to cop to the fact that I'd slipped. I was going to keep this front up no matter what. I'd wire money to dealers who would leave me pills and powder wherever I was traveling, and I was back in that cycle again. Everyone started to pull away from me again. My mom, my sister, my friends, and Adrienne, who began to spend most of her time at her parents' house and fewer days with me. Because even though I wasn't admitting a thing, they could feel that I was lying. And it got very bad very quick. This wasn't a slow slide. This was a nosedive. When Stern went on break for 2 weeks in July, I stayed at my shore house doing nothing but getting high in my bedroom. The shame of failing at being sober was so heavy upon me that I couldn't even consider trying to fake it by being social. I hid out from everyone, except the one person I couldn't avoid: my mother. She came down for a few days and got sick with some kind of flu, probably because she was stressed out over me. Her doctor called in an antibiotic to the CVS a half-mile from my house. The night before, I'd taken some sleeping pills, so that morning I was still groggy as I got into the car and drove to get my mother her medicine. I was pretty out of it, so some woman who saw me swerving called 911, and before I knew it, the cops were following me. That didn't help my concentration any, and by accident I bumped the car in front of me while coming to a stop just a few blocks from my house. No one was hurt, and there was no damage. In fact, the 2 teenage kids in the car got out and recognized me and asked for autographs and pictures as if nothing had happened. The cops behind me decided to give me a sobriety test, however, which became an unscheduled improv show. Because the whole time they made me walk the line and touch my nose, people were pulling over to take pictures and watch. Thank God I didn't have any drugs in the car, because they weren't satisfied with my performance and decided to arrest me on suspicion of DUI. Thankfully, the cop agreed to take my mother's antibiotics to the house before taking me in to be arrested. My poor mother. She thought her son was going out to get her antibiotics until a cop showed up to deliver them and told her I'd been arrested for DUI. My mother was my one phone call. She then called my buddy Al, who was one of my best friends from childhood. Al's father was the guy who got me my job at Port Newark back in the day. It took him a few hours, but eventually Al bailed me out. For the record, I blew a 0.0 on the breathalyzer because I wasn't drinking. When they took my urine sample, I told them the truth. Listen, I have a prescription for sleeping pills, and I took them last night, so that's all you're going to find, I said. That's great, the cop said. Get a lawyer, because you're going to need one. They took my mugshot and threw me in a cell, and about 20 minutes later, one of the detectives who'd booked me came back all smiles. Looks like you made TMZ. Congratulations. Really? I'm not sure what is more nauseating, how giddy the guy was about it, or the fact that it took TMZ something like 14 minutes to report that I'd been arrested for DUI, but CNN still can't find the weapons of mass destruction. That's great. I tried to sleep on the floor until Al...
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.